think I was a bit probably too strict when they were sort of going through their teens, and then because they're all going to rebel, right? So some are more rebellious than others, and I think when you do see your kids starting to rebel, particularly if it's the oldest kids, you do worry. You think, oh, gee, what have I done? But what we've found is really just the stages that kids go through. And while it's not pleasant, okay, when
Sure.
they go through those rebellious stages, it is great seeing them come out the other side.
Hey everyone, this is Yvette Hampton. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. I'm so glad you are back with me. We've been talking about math this week, and maybe some of you looked at the title and you're like, math, I'm not so sure that I want to listen to that. But as homeschool parents, we all deal with having to teach math to our kids. And so we are grateful for CTCMath and for their sponsorship of this podcast, and just for all the work that Pat Murray has put into this program and his team. They have an incredible team there in Sydney, Australia, who have worked very, very hard to make math easy for us as homeschool parents and be able to teach it to our kids. Because, Pat's super cool voice is on the other side of my screen teaching math to my kids. And I am so grateful for that. So thank you again, Pat, for just your support of the Schoolhouse Rocked ministry. And I want to say thank you also again to our sponsor, BJU Press Homeschool. If you're looking for a really good, solid Christian, biblical worldview curriculum for your kids for any subject, history, science, language arts, whatever, look at BJU Press Homeschool. They have everything for every grade, every subject, and they have lots of different ways to teach your kids and to help them engage in what it is that they're learning. So check them out at bjupresshomeschool.com. And you can also call them and talk to one of their consultants if you're just not sure what is best for your family. Call them up and they'll walk you through the whole process. bjupresshomeschool.com. Also, if this podcast has been a blessing to you and your family, would you consider supporting this ministry? We are so thankful for those of you who continue to come alongside us and support us financially. I mean, literally, there are no words to express to you how much we appreciate that because, again, we couldn't do this without you. So if you would like to help support this ministry financially, you can do a one-time donation or you can sign up to do a monthly donation. Just go to our website, schoolhouserocked.com, and click on that donate button. Also, subscribe to our newsletter if you haven't done that yet. It's easy to do. We don't send a lot of junk. We actually don't send a whole lot of newsletters out, but we want you to know the important things that are coming up, what episodes on the podcast are coming up, and how they can encourage you. And also hit that thumbs up button if you're watching this on YouTube and share this with your friends. We love you guys, and we are so grateful for those of you who do that and who leave comments on these videos. It's fun to read those, and we try to respond to them as often as we can. So anyway, we are back with Pat, though. So Pat, thank you again for being with me this week. I want to talk today about family because we've been talking about math, but I know math is just kind of your main thing, but it's not your main thing. Your main thing. It's
my side hustle.
Side hustle. Exactly. It's the main thing for as a company, but your main gig is your family. And it's been really fun as I was reading through your bio. I thought, man, this guy, he is a family man. Talk about your family. It seems that you have a really close-knit family. Talk about just what you've learned as a father of 10. I mean, I just kind of want us to sit at your feet for just a minute, and maybe you can just share with us kind of some of the things that you've learned, some things that you maybe would do differently. How has your perspective changed on parenting? Just kind of walk us through what that part of your life has been.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, whether you've got that at home, you've got one or two children, or whether you've got, 3 or 4 or more, I think as a parent, for starters, let me say, I really love that you're a parent, right? Okay. So I love that You're doing a great job as a parent, and that that you love your kids, and that you always want what's best for your kids. So yeah, I think with that in mind, what my wife Marie and I, we were married, just in our early 20s. So we always had a love of family. I grew up from a large family myself. I was one of 8, and Marie was one of 3. but we had a lot of Marie particularly had more extended family than I would in that sense. It's sort of cousins and uncles and aunties that she had a lot of close relationships with. So the family always was a big focus for us. We were pretty intentional about reading a lot of books about becoming good parents and all that sort of stuff initially. But I think you asked about how has perspective changed. Well, certainly has, because I mean we were quite young. We were married, and then we're a lot older now, of course. But our eldest is 35. She's 35, and our youngest is 15. So it's sort of 20 years between the top and the bottom ages. And just even a funny thing, the kids might be watching a movie at home, and then the older kids come home and visit, and they said, "Oh, we were never allowed to watch that sort of movie." Right. So I suppose those sort of perspectives have changed as well. It was interesting. I always found that we were quite rigorous in our kids getting to bed by 7:30, say 7:30 each night, or might have even been earlier. I can't quite remember, but then the older kids, because the younger kids, because they've grown up with older kids, that bedtime for them sort of crept up and up as well. Sure. And I suppose that didn't happen intentionally; it just sort of happens. So there's things like that in terms of, I guess, being a lot more, a way of putting it, a bit more relaxed about how the kids are. I know when we were young, and it might have been that we were young parents as well, that we possibly maybe compared how, or maybe we're very aware of, or how's our parenting going with other parenting that we observe, and we might have, whether we felt don't think inferior is not the right word, but whether we thought, oh look, we might not be doing comparing. Yeah. So yeah, I always think a great saying like comparison is the thief of joy, and I think it is. I think when you start comparing, or you're always trying to compare how you're going against others, it becomes a bit of a losing game, actually. Yeah, because I know even some of the events that we would go into, like a parenting course and that, and listen to parents who we really probably admired, maybe a bit too much. In fact, that might have put them on a bit of a pedestal, and then sort of try to do everything they said. Oh, we should be doing this. Oh, we're sort of frustrated because we're not doing this with our kids. Only to find out later on that the parenting course, people running the parenting courses, weren't actually doing that either. So that was a big eye opener for us as parents. I think, oh, gee, we basically sort of were beating ourselves up really as parents when we should have been a lot more relaxed in many ways. Sure. I mean, we sort of, we have high standards for our kids and all that sort of stuff, but I think we probably stressed a little bit too much about the little things, when I look back. And I mean, some of the things that our younger kids now who are still living with us, not say what we'll let them get away with, but some things that we would, make a big thing of, the older kids, if they did the same thing, we'd probably make a big thing about it. Or certainly myself, probably not Marie. I'm not going to throw Marie under the bus. But I would sort of get upset and get annoyed about things that now I look back at, that wasn't worth it, or that I shouldn't have got annoyed about that. And so I guess that experience, if I had was able to give that to my younger self as a parent, that would have been great. But I guess, there's some of the things that over the journey of that length of time that I see that I can observe that we do things differently. Yeah. But I think
became a more relaxed parent, but still intentional, it sounds like, with your children.
Yeah. So being intentional, and I guess, and allowing, just a bit more relaxed. I think that is right. I think that's clear. And I think, I know like my youngest my second youngest has just finished high school. He's just finished his schooling now. But like a lot of his friends, they love coming over, and that's always a good sign. I think if your kids' parents, your kids' friends love coming over to your place and being inviting in that. So I always thought that's a really important thing as well. So we've made a pretty big effort for our house to be certainly kid friendly, but quite an enjoyable place to when we've been lucky enough, we've had a pool at home, which in Australia, in Sydney, when it gets pretty hot, having a pool is a great gathering place for kids and so on. So, things like that, I think, if you can, it's great.
Yeah, that's great stuff. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. We want to thank all of our sponsors for making this show possible: BJU Press Homeschool, CTCMath, Apologia, and IEW. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. Visit the show notes for links to these great companies and thank them for supporting the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. We are back with Pat. I want to ask you a question really quickly. With 10 kids, and it sounds like from talking to you that you have a pretty good relationship with most of your kids, at least. How did you go about building that relationship with them and keeping a relationship with your kids?
Okay. Look, we have a pretty good relationship with all of our kids, actually. So, but that, I guess, we might not have always thought that was the case. So particularly growing up once they hit their teens and so on. And I guess, and when I talked about it being a bit more relaxed now, I think I was a bit probably too strict when they were sort of going through their teens, and then because they're all going to rebel, right? So some are more rebellious than others, and I think when you do see your kids starting to rebel, particularly if it's the oldest kids, or you do worry. You think, oh, gee, what have I done? And what could I do better? And all of these things sort of go through your mind. But what we've found is really just the stages that kids go through. And while it's not pleasant, okay, when they go through those rebellious stages, it is great seeing them come out the other side. So that's what we found with our kids, that even the ones who were what we thought, we're just not sure what they're going to turn out. Turn out's not probably the nicest phrase to use, but you do get concerned. But to see them come out of that rebellious stage is great, is fantastic. But while they're in it, if you can sort of have the mentality, which I do now, is that this time will pass. So you can sort of think of that. This time will pass, and it's frustrating, it's annoying, and they're annoyed. They're frustrated and annoyed at you as well. It's not one-way traffic. But if you sort of just hang in there, keep praying, and that time will pass, and they'll turn around. Not that even. I mean, our eldest is 35, and as I said, she's got 3 little ones herself now. So so she'll go through all those battles herself. But anyway, you just sort of know it's a cycle of life, I guess.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear you talk about kids rebelling, and I think as homeschool parents, oftentimes we think, well, our kids are not going to rebel; they're going to just sail through life with us, and everything's going to be great because we're teaching them here at home. And one of the things that I'm learning right now with my oldest daughter is that what I think a lot of parents might see as rebellion is it's not that she has a rebellious heart, is that she's now an adult and she wants to figure some stuff out for herself.
Yeah. And
so it's sometimes things that we don't necessarily see eye to eye on things, but we've set that foundation. And so she's not out doing anything crazy. She's not smoking or drinking, which, I mean, some kids go down that road. But some people from the outside might look at that and go, well, she's being rebellious because she's not in agreement with you on these particular ideas. And my husband and I are learning very quickly that it's not that she's being rebellious. It's that she is establishing her life as an adult. But we trust her because we've set that foundation for her through a biblical worldview. And so she knows who she is. She is a Christian. She loves the Lord, and she is sensitive to the Holy Spirit. So she knows right from wrong. And still, she is figuring stuff out on her own. And so there are times where we're just like, okay, well, we're going to let you do your thing. And, if you slip and fall, don't skin your knees up too badly. We'll help you back up if you're going to need help back up. Thankfully, she hasn't done anything that's been super crazy. And we're very grateful for that. But I think that idea of rebellion is sometimes just that difference of them learning to be who they are, who God made them to be, their own person. And they're going to differ from us on their ideas about life.
Absolutely. And I think, you've built their solid foundation, you built with them a solid foundation.
Sure.
And that is just so super important. So even
Yeah.
if they, and God willing, they don't stray too far, but even if your kids, as they get older, they have to stray away from God or away from our Lord. Look, I think you just keep praying, but don't ever get disheartened. Don't get despair about it,
Sure.
because there's so many times, even in our experience, that we've seen that they have strayed, and you just think, oh gee, what have I done wrong? What could I have done better? But they do come back.
Sure.
And they do come back, and I always think they will come back. And I always think they'll come back in God's time as well. It might not be in our time. So I always have that philosophy that, I'm always very aware things happen in God's time, which doesn't necessarily, as frustrating as it is, it doesn't necessarily mean it's our time. So with that, I think that philosophy has helped us a lot.
Sure.
And that, so that's
just
one to
because
think
they're
about.
lost doesn't mean that they're going to be lost forever. I want to ask you one last question before we close, because you've been married for a long time, 35 years, over 35 years, which I think is absolutely incredible. Talk about your marriage. Like how have you sustained a marriage with the same person for over 35 years? What have you found to be, I don't want to say the secret. I mean, obviously for us, it's the Lord, by God's grace, we're still married. But what is it that has kept you and your wife in good relationship with one another?
Okay. Well, I think firstly, it's the choice. You choose the right person to start with. I think that's super important. But over time, you do have to work at it. I mean, there are stages where that it's hard because you've got these kids, you've got a lot of financial problems. You've got all the problems that come in life.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing for us was that we always had the Lord with us.
Mm-hmm.
We were always that was always a very our faith was always very important to us.
Sure.
And our children was a great and our kids were a great focus as well. So. Practical things, I suppose, is trying. We've never actually, while we might have arguments or so, we did very intentional about not doing that in front of the children. So that was one that we've done, I think, really well through our married life. And in terms of never allowing, never letting one of the kids say, oh, well, mum wants me to do this, or mum said I can do that. Never sort of taking sides against each other like that. And never, so I guess that those sort of things. And then making sure that we had time for each other. I know, and I can't remember when we started, but we tried to go away on a weekend or go away even for dinner once a month, and we probably didn't quite get to once a month, that we had a dinner to ourselves. But the things like that, if we were quite intentional about trying to do something just as a couple, through that time. And I guess one of the big things is really, I know it's a bit of a cliche, never go to bed, with an argument sort of hanging over your head there.
Sure.
So we've tried to, as best we could. I mean, we've tried to clear things up. Not that we argue very much. I know some couples argue a lot, and they're fine with it. Well, I guess we're not very confronting sort of people though as well. So it's not in our nature to be too argumentative. But and I just enjoy each other's company and make sure that we show a keen interest in what the other is doing. So
that's good stuff. So, well, congratulations on over 35 years of marriage. My husband and I are hitting 29 years by God's grace, and we are so grateful for that. It is truly. It is a lot of work to stay, not just to stay married, but to be happy. And it is a decision that has to be made on both sides. You're committed to it through the hard times, through the good times, for better or worse, in sickness and in health. And it's there's a reason why those are part of traditional vows, because it's known that those times are going to come. And so thank you for your example that you've set for us. And thank you so much, Pat, for being with us this week. It's been really fun talking with you and even talking about math. We are so grateful for what you've done with CTCMath and providing that service to our family and to, I don't even know. How many, do you have any idea how many students are on CTCMath?
On CTCMath, I think, Nadim, I think the last, he might have said about 60, 70,000 students.
Wow.
So on CTCMath, yeah.
Okay.
And then we've got about 340,000 students using our math program worldwide. So
Okay. Wow. That is absolutely incredible. That is a huge impact that you're making. So thank you again for all that you do. You guys can find out more about CTC, of course, at ctcmath.com. Stay tuned to the very end to hear a clip of what's coming up next week on the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. And again, you can find all things at our website, schoolhouserocked.com. You can download the movie, not download. I always say download. I mean stream. Can't download it, but you can stream it for free at schoolhouserockedmovie.com, or you can just get it straight through our website, schoolhouserocked.com. You can also download our Homeschool Survival Kit. You can make a donation to the Schoolhouse Rocked ministry. And again, please share this podcast with your friends. We love you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you back here next week. Bye.
Often when I speak and I talk about the need to equip ourselves with a biblical worldview, and I'll mention to my audience that we got to recognize that around 90% of kids from church homes go to the public schools. And in those public schools, in a real sense, secularism, naturalism, atheism is the new religion of that system. The system itself is inherently atheistic because the system itself assumes right up front that you don't need God to explain anything, that you can explain all things, biology, anthropology, astronomy, mathematics, everything without God, without the Bible. That is the religion of humanism, naturalism, atheism. And for so many Christian parents, when we send our kids to that system, they're there for almost 40 hours a week, 9 months out of the year, and they're getting really hit with this atheistic worldview and all the reasons, really, the atheistic worldview must be true, and if that's true, then the Bible can't be true.
If God has you in a household right now, and you have children in your household, you have a family that God has given you. You and your spouse, or if you're a single mom or single dad, your children are this is the family God has given them, and it's our responsibility as their parents to train them on how to live with one another. And God chose that. God knew they needed each other in order to grow them in their character, to grow them in their walk with the Lord. And so that way they can learn better what He has for them, and they can start to appreciate one another, and that they're this team that God has created. I mean, who better to make a team than God? And so He placed them into the family. He made them the way they are. You may have siblings who, very, very different from one another. Some may have learning issues or developmental issues or, challenging things. And some kids can feel like, why does it have to be so hard in this family? God wanted it that way for your good, for all, and for others to see you navigate through this. It will grow you, and what a blessing it will be.